Hello, everyone. My name is Liz Svoboda, and welcome to this edition of Citation Station webinar. Today, we're going to be doing an introduction to Zotero, which is a citation management manager, basically. So we'll get into a little bit more about what it is. Then we're going to get into not necessarily creating an account because it's fairly easy to do, but I'll talk about navigating the differences between the library and how to actually kind of get around the program a little bit. We'll cover adding citations, creating collections, creating group libraries, and also creating bibliographies. And then also where to get help towards the end of this as well. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop those in the chat, and I will kind of be monitoring that throughout this session. So Zotero is an open source citation management system. It allows for easy collection, organization, and formatting of references into numerous different citation styles. It allows for collaboration on collecting citations and creating those bibliographies through group libraries. And then there's this browser connection that helps to capture citations and add them to, also add them to word processors like Microsoft Word, but also Google Docs as well. So it's a really useful platform in kind of both the research section, but also the writing section as well. We're going to switch over here to actually getting into Zotero. So Zotero is a nonprofit organization, well, not nonprofit, but they're an open access section here. So basically to sign up for an account, you just go up to either log in or sign in. And then there's going to be two kind of different ways to access your citations as you're kind of going through them. So after you log in, you can register for a free account. It asks you for pretty much all the regular information that you ever need to sign up for an account like this. And I'm going to pop into my account because I've already signed up for one. Okay. All right. So this is the web version of Zotero. This is great for if someone you're just kind of starting out and you have to kind of create an account before you do anything else. However, it is not the only way that you can use Zotero. And actually, there's a few like the browser extension doesn't really work, and like some of the add-ins or plugins to Microsoft Word and Google Docs don't really work unless you have the full downloaded program onto your computer as well. So let me go back here to org. And if you do want to download it, again, it's right up at the front top here. And then you've got Zotero 7 for Windows. Zotero 7 just came out within the last month or so, I think. And so there might be some other tutorials out there that we've linked to on the library that you'll find on YouTube and stuff. But they will look a little bit different than what I'm showing you because I have updated to the most recent version. This is also where you'd get the Zotero Connector, and this is that little browser extension that will allow you to kind of collect references as you're going online. And I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. But it's kind of detecting that I'm on a Chrome browser, but you'll see that it is also available for a couple of our other major browsers that are out there. So again, for those people who are coming in right now, you have to sign up for an account online at zotero.org, but it is really nice to kind of download this Zotero. It's really important to download this Zotero for Windows program as well. And this is where I'm going to be kind of showing you around the most. But the operability between the online Zotero library, the web library that you're seeing here, as well as and the desktop version, they are synced together. You can resync them all the time. So even if you're on the go, adding things to your web library is great. Or if you've got your computer with you all the time, you'd be using the desktop version. Okay. So in the library here, you've got a couple of different things. We'll start up at the very top, which is where in the web library as it is, this shows you all of the different references that I have in my library. I can create in the library some specific kind of folders and groups basically so that I don't have to see everything that kind of comes through. So again, for different projects or classes that I'm working on, I might want to put that together. You can actually even include, some sub collections as well. So for example, for this Psych 400 Lit review that I've started with a student, I've got these 5 resources, but then I've added one in as going to be in section 1 of the literature review. So there's a couple of different ways to kind of organize this as well. There's also even in my publication. So if I have anything that I want to like add to like my CV or that I can say that are mine, I can actually kind of claim these here, and these will show up on my Zotero profile. So it's another kind of way to share things similar to things like Google Scholar, or like claiming your Google Scholar profile, or like ResearchGate or any of the other kind of things. Zotero has this ability to, but you don't necessarily need to use it. Um, in order to create an additional library, you can go, or a collection within the library, you go up to this cute little button here, and you can add in another collection. So if I'm going to do, what's on, September 2024 demo. So this is where I'm going to be kind of putting in all of those options that we're putting in here now. And so this collection is empty, and it's ready for me to kind of put items into my collection here. Okay. Um, Additionally, on this page, in the kind of left side menu, this is where you'd also see things like if you've got anything in your trash. So these are some things that I'm like, oh, I don't actually need these. They'll go away after a few different or a couple of different days or month or weeks or so. You can actually, empty out the trash or restore items too if you accidentally move something in here. So it's just a good idea to kind of check this and keep things up to date as well. There's also these things called group libraries, and group libraries are how you would actually share out particular lists of items to other researchers or even to the broader public. And we'll kind of get into that in a little bit too. Um, but I'm going to move over to the desktop version just to kind of show you more in that kind of vein. But you do have options up here to add groups. There's a lot of documentation, and the forums are great places to get help with Zotero itself. And then over out here under my name, you can actually see my profile. So if I open up this, you can see that here are, some presentations. This is the things that were coming in my documents. And this is also where you can kind of see any groups that I've shared out to the wider population or to the wider public as well. Okay. All right. We can go back into Web Library though. All right, so this is Web Library. I will actually, before I go over to the desktop version, in upgrade storage over here, so Zotero is free up to a certain point. So if you add, and you'll see that I've got quite a bit of things stored in here, so I'm going to need to actually kind of purge my storage at some point in time. But basically, for the free account, you get 300 megabytes of storage for like PDFs or other attachments that you would see there, or that you would attach to a citation. You can even do some mockups. But you also have the ability to add in, 6 gigabytes, and this is an annual price. So if you wanted to add 2 gigabytes of data storage to your Zotero, you can actually just pay $20 a year. So it's pretty cheap. If you wanted to get the unlimited plan, it averages out to $10 a month. So it is fairly reasonable for what you're going through, but I'm definitely going to need to kind of purge my library here because I'm hitting my limit because I've added a couple of things in here a little bit recently. So just an FYI, it is free up to a certain point, but if you wanted to add in, it is pretty accessible pretty financially accessible for most people. Okay, so this is the web library version here. Let me pull in my Zotero library. So again, this is the desktop program. We're no longer in Chrome here. And again, it looks really similar, right? These are synced together. So everything that you saw, all the different collections that were in my web library are in my desktop library as well. And all the functionality is still here too. So let's get into actually kind of adding in some titles. So you can add things in manually. So say you saw artwork at the FIA and you're going to cite it for an art history paper. You can do that. Say you have a physical book, which is probably the more likely thing that you have. And it kind of opens up in your desktop this little side panel. If your screen is smaller than mine currently is, it might show up at the bottom of your screen. It's kind of programmed to work like that, or programmed to kind of adjust the size of your screen. But say here I can type in the title of a book and go in and make sure that I get that author's name. If there's things like if it is a book that's going to be in multiple areas or like in it's a multiple series or different editions, you can definitely put all this kind of stuff in here. With publishers, we're going to do, and this book is a little bit old from 1971, but you do have um, options here to put like place of publication and other things depending on what you're looking for. And if it is an ebook, you can put a URL in here, or a DOI sometimes will work in here as well. So this is just adding in. And again, if I need to correct anything, I can always go back and, edit things as they go. So that's kind of adding citations in manually. Now, I just put it into my library, right? And so I didn't put it into any specific smaller subcategory. So it kind of gets lost in this huge shuffle. All right. So if I need to find this again, I can search for it. So say I need this book by Benson, and there it is, right? Here it comes. I can drag and drop it into a particular folder. So I'm going to put it over into the hidden curriculum, or the hidden curriculum into September 2024. And there it is. Okay. If I have anything that is unfiled, so these are things that are not in a particular subfolder, they do kind of stay here. So if I needed to, again, add things in to a particular folder, I can drag and drop, and they'll kind of eventually they'll kind of go my out of my unfiled items here. Okay. Another thing that I like to do every once in a while is check to see if I've got any duplicate items. And so this is like things, okay, so there's multiple kind of titles or citations that look really similar together. So maybe these are things that I can either kind of condense or merge the two items together, or maybe I need to delete out some of these things. So I can merge the two items like this, and they kind of get taken out of that duplicate mode. All right. So let's go back to adding items. So there's, again, you can add all sorts of different items in here. It typically looks at like the last 4 or 5 things that you've added into at the very top here. But then otherwise, it's this huge, long alphabetical list of all different types of information sources, the format of the sources. If there is something that isn't listed here, you can you'll need to kind of finagle it in to one of the other types, but you usually are able to capture almost everything that you might be citing in here. Okay. Let me actually grab, because there's a couple other ways to add some items in here. So this next one is adding items in by identifier, which is really cool. So say I have a DOI for a particular journal article here. What I can do is I can copy, and then I'm going to paste in this DOI. And you'll notice that it works with ISBNs, with PubMed IDs, ArchiveX IDs, other things that you might see. So again, adding in that, and there it is. Okay, so it added in double ones. But here it is, and comes down at the bottom. Most of the time, it will pull back things correctly. Every once in a while, like for example, this is an acronym of a journal title. So depending on what your citation style is, you might have to go in and edit this a little bit. Same thing with like making sure that the entire author's name comes in and not just, a initial or something like that. But typically it comes in pretty well. And you'll also see it comes in with the DOI. It's pulling in what it thinks is a URL that's good. And so there's a bunch of different ways that you can do this. It will also bring in things like your abstract. And sometimes it will bring in some notes and other things. And you'll see that a lot more when we're getting citations out of a database. Okay. So just for the sake of we're going to go ahead and add this one over to my September 2024 demo. And like if I was in September 2024, it would have added in there automatically. And I'm going to delete out this other item that I don't necessarily want. But you'll see that it does come in here with an attachment as well. So this should just be kind of a snapshot of the PDF. But I can actually even open this up. And this is what adds onto your storage is that you can add it, open it up like this. You can add in sticky notes and other things to kind of like make comments. You can also like highlight things as you're going along here. So say you wanted to actually use this as a note taker, you could. There's a lot of different options and availability that are here with the Zotero platform. Okay, so say you wanted to add multiple items here, or maybe you wanted to go in and actually, get attachment to here. So you can add additional attachments or like links to files. That's all here. You can add notes onto these as well. So that if you say, okay, this needs to possibly going to use this quote on page 24 or 23, for example, right? And you can kind of add this in as you go along. So there's a lot of functionality within the sources as well. And you'll kind of see the number of notes that it comes in. You'll see what libraries there are. If you wanted to add tags to this, so say you were going to say this is going to be in section 12 of my paper, I can do that too. And you can even kind of link out to additional sources in here if you wanted to kind of create some connections between the different sources. So, but there's a lot of things you can do. Now, so far, we've just kind of gone over adding items either manually, individually, or by a PubMed. But what if you have multiple things that you want to add? Or if you've got a file called an RIS file. So we're going to switch over to pardon me, the Thompson library here. So say I'm going to do a search in the library on vaping, and I want to grab a couple of different articles here. So we're going to grab 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. A lot of the different library databases will kind of do this, and I'll be able to export those results in a couple of different ways. Hold on a second. Cancel. Sorry, export to RIS. You don't actually have to export. If you want to export all results, you would need to log in. But if you're just selecting a few, you've got this export to RIS file, and it'll ask you to download it. And this usually comes back in your downloads folder. And so then when I want to go into my Zotero library, okay, back on the desktop version, I can go up here to File. I'm going to import, and it's going to ask me where I want to import this from. So I have an RIS file, which is it's kind of like a doc versus an Excel file. It's specifically formatted for citation managers. I'm going to say next. I want to grab this one. And it asks if you want to place them into a new collection or else. And if you don't have this, it'll go into whatever collection you're in. So it should go into September 2024, and I can file handling. It's going to ask if I wanted to put them into the folder here. And it's imported those 4 items that I wanted to see. And again, if I want to look at the info to make sure that they are coming in correctly, I can do that here. Okay. So for example, like maybe this page number is a little suspicious to me. So it's 1-to-1. So I might want to go back and double check to see if there are actual page numbers here that I would need to edit. So it comes in pretty well. It gets you probably about like 85-90% of the way there, but it's always a good idea to go in and double check to make sure, hey, why isn't there a DOI? Maybe British Medical Journal Online doesn't have it. So that's something to look at, but maybe I want to actually make sure that this publication is coming through completely. Just some things to kind of double check and think about as you're going through. So this is from the quick search page on the library, but most of the library databases will have some way to do this. So whether it's putting things into kind of a temporary folder like we just did with so if I wanted to add in this particular article here, I can actually go into most of the databases, and depending on what you're looking at, it might look a little bit different, but in EBSCO sources, if you go over to export and direct export to RIS file, same thing that we've seen before. There we go. Okay, so there's the EBSCO host again. And I can go back into Zotero here. And again, it's the same process again. So depending on where you're going for this, and make sure that you're not creating a new collection every time that it's going into the one that you want. And there it is, that came up at the very top here, and it brings back a lot more information. And a lot of the time it will bring back a good solid link to this particular article, as well as things like abstract. Sometimes it will bring in if you import things like this, it will bring in a large list of tags. But again, you have the ability to go through and take out tags that you're not interested in using, or going to kind of complicate the amount of things that you are seeing on this page. We're going to look at one more way to get citations into a database. So the citation or the Zotero browser connection extension is up here. I've already got it on my attached to my Chrome up here, but it works in a couple of different ways. It works across pretty much anything that you want on this. So for example, if I was going to use this particular article and I didn't want to go through the whole export route and everything, and I have my connector available, I can click on it up in this upper right corner. It's going to ask me where I want to save it to. And I say I definitely want it to go into this September collection down here, and I'm going to hit done. And then once I go back into my September here option, there it is, the double pandemic examining cultural stresses on Asian Americans during COVID, right? So here's this availability, and it tried to pull back everything that it needed for. Again, it's always a good idea to double check to make sure that it's coming back. And this doesn't work just in the library databases. So if you go to an open website or even like a YouTube channel, so say I wanted to, where'd it go? Wanted to grab this YouTube video from the Wall Street Journal, okay? I can go up again to my Zotero. It looks a little bit different now. It tries to kind of recognize what format of media you're putting in. So a little article icon has changed to this little video cam, and it says, yes, this is where I want to put it in. Done, it hits create. And then again, back in my library here, it has this. So again, it's video recording. It tries to make sure like the W or like what the title is and grab, all the different information you need here. You might have to work around it a little bit. So for example, if I know I'm going to be using APA, I might want to add in YouTube as the studio so that it kind of pulls back that a little bit better. You might have to go through and edit these things a little bit. So for APA format, I know that I'm going to need this in sentence case instead of title case. And I can go through and change this to sentence case. So it pulls out and kind of changes this for me, which is pretty nice. So there's a lot of extra options and kind of abilities to make things happen in here. All right, now, say I wanted to actually share this particular collection with a group member or a collaborator with myself. Okay, so Here, there's not really a good way. You have to do this in the web version of Zotero. So there's a little bit of back and forth between the web version and the desktop version. But again, it's just kind of remembering what happens where will be useful. So I'm going to switch back over into my Zotero web library. And if you'll notice, if I go down here to September 2024 demo, nothing's coming up in here. So I might want to actually have to go in and make sure that I am syncing my item. So in order to do that, I just click sync with zotero.org, and it should, after I refresh the page here, pop everything back in. So here's all those things that I added. It is, compatible between both the web library as well as my desktop library. Okay. Now, if I wanted to share this particular collection with some collaborators or even, publish it out to the wider world, I could do that. So if I go up to my groups in Zotero Web Library, it's already going to show that I have one that's available out here, and you can even see and manage members for this, but you can also create a new group. It's going to ask you to choose a name for your group, and it's creating a unique URL. So in this case, I'm going to need to do Zotero. So it'll kind of it will show up red if that is already something that's been tried. So you might actually have to go down a little bit more and even kind of see, oh, whoops, someone's already put this in. So someone else is giving a demo right now. So for example, we'll do Psych 319. Oh, come on. See if I take out one of these, it'll work. Okay, hopefully this is going to work. It usually turns to black, but we'll see. Okay, down under group, it'll ask you what kind of access you want other people to see. So if you want to have anybody add things to this, as long as you want, you can do the open public membership. I would probably never really suggest this, just because I've never used it. It probably could get pretty unwieldy if you really went into it. But you can do a closed public membership. So this means that anybody can view the group, but if you want people to add citations to it, they must be invited. Or I'm going to use this public or this private membership, which no one can see it except the people who I add in. So this is what I'm going to do for right now. Hold on. It might actually even, it probably doesn't like the fact that I put in Zotero. So we're going to do psych. We're going to do 319 demo. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so forgive me. It doesn't like putting Zotero in the group name. So we're just going to do Psych 319 demo because that was the class I was teaching earlier, and do a private, and I'm going to create the group. All right. So now I'm in the settings, so I can change this if I do want to go through and add and edit this at some point in time. But I can also say, okay, maybe I only want group admins to add this. So I have lots of members who can kind of see it, but only people I designate as an admin are the ones who can actually go in and change things. You can also edit files, so, or say that I don't want any file storage to this group. So you can actually share files through Zotero as well. Okay. So we're going to do this. And then back in my groups or the group settings, I can actually, delete an owner. I can add a profile image. And this is actually where I'd actually want to change and kind of put a description in, that kind of things. In member settings, this is where I would actually update roles and add people. So this is my current account here, but if I wanted to add a member, I can send an invitation, and you just need that person's email. And then, so this is pending to my other Zotero account, so I can go in and kind of edit that in a second here. But let's actually get some items into this group. So we could do this in the web library. It should show up down here under group libraries now. Pull this down so you can see it a little bit. But so Psych 319 demo is here on that web library. If I go back into my desktop version, I just need to hit refresh. And there it is down there. I can pull things in here. So say I wanted to add things from the slit review that I'm doing for Psych 400. I can either, again, right click on this and add to a collection. Or if I wanted to, I can, again, drag and drop into Psych 319 demo here down below. And once I click into here, you'll see the different items that I've pulled in as well. Okay. Now, it didn't pull in any of the attachments because, again, in this group, I said don't share attachments. So depending on what your file storage is like, you may want to add, may want to change that. But for me, this is what's going on right now. Then let me go back in to my other Gmail account. And I will be able to accept. So I get this cute little email invite here. That's a Zotero group invitation. And it's just going to ask that I accept or decline the invitation. So I'm going to copy the address here and open up another browser window. Sorry, this gets a little complicated at this point in the demonstration here because I'm going in between two accounts, but I'm already logged in on Firefox, so I can say, yes, I would like to join this group here. And it says join or ignore, and it's all up to me. But I'm now a member of this group. So if I go into my web library on here, you'll see here, and again, notice that it's the eastvote 2 option up here instead of the list vote option. Okay, so it is two different accounts, even though it is all owned by me, but that's here. So again, you can kind of add and edit things as you go along to make sure that things are showing up. And again, if you're ever not seeing anything in this, you'll need to go through and edit it. Hold on. Maybe I just haven't viewed it. I might need to check this and double check to make sure everything's there. Refresh. Hold on. What? There it is. Okay. Just took a second to catch up. So there it is. And again, I'm here. And then if I go over to the Firefox version, there they are. So it sometimes does take a second for everything to sync up, but it will sync up. And since I have the ability in this secondary one, I can go through and edit and make sure, or I might want to change this to an admin, or I can at least see what's going on with this shared library. So let's get to the most important part, actually getting your citations out of Zotero. So I really like Zotero because it will suggest formatting in a couple of different ways. So actually, hold on. But if I actually wanted to share out one of these particular bibliographies that I want to. So for example, we're going to go into Cyclit review. And I can do a couple of different things. I can hold down and like highlight everything and then right click. And then, there's a couple of different things. You can move things, remove them from the collection, but you can also create a bibliography from these items. Okay. And what this does is it opens up this little option here. It brings back some really common citation styles that you see. So you'll see APA, MLA is down at the bottom here, Chicago, Vancouver, a couple of the major data or journal specific citation styles are in here. But if you're not seeing your particular style that you need, you can click on Manage Styles, and then down below, you can do a search with the Get Additional Styles option down here. And that opens up. So it opens up this style search that you see down here that will have all sorts of different things. So you could search by a particular field. So if I am, say, a communications major and there's something that's coming up here, I can, see a lot of different options here. Most of the time, they are kind of related to a particular journal that I might be wanting to look in, but I could add this in here. I could also do a title search. So if I'm looking for social, oops, hold on a second. Let me take off the communications option here and do something that's related to social work, sociology, I can again do a search and kind of pull up here and even like pull up a particular journal, and it will give you an example of this. So this is how you would add things in. And then if I wanted to, we'll just put in Annales Histoire. But then in my citation styles, then Annales Histoire is there, right? So I've updated this and I can put that in there. But for this example, I'm just going to use the APA style citation. Again, you've got the just regular version versus the annotated bibliography. So I'm going to say that and say yes. Okay. So that's there. Okay. So I'm going to go back and create the bibliography. You see Annales Histoire there. I'm just going to use the APA version though, and it offers two different output modes. So there's either citations, which are going to be those in-text citations or parenthetical citations that you see, or you get the full bibliography, okay? And you can also save this as a rich text file, so a Word document, for example. You can save it as an HTML, or you can actually just copy it to the clipboard too. So if you're going to like paste it into the back of a Word doc, you can do that. But I'm going to save it as a rich text file so that I get the full option here. And I'm going to say, I was demoing this for another student earlier, so I'm just going to say demo bib right now. And then once I go into my download or documents folder, wherever I saved this, it pulls it back and you have this full bibliography here. Now, again, it is always a good idea to double check to make sure that this is correct against the journal article information. So for example, like it's bringing back the database name, which can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm 90% sure that APA does not want the database name in here. Looking at things like capitalization. So for example, down here, we've got a bunch of this title case. I might want to double check to make sure that this is correct in this book chapter, and it is something that needs to happen. So again, it gets you most of the way there, but it is really useful, and I can always go back into Zotero and correct things as I'm seeing them as well. Okay. All right. So that's all I have to kind of chat with you and show you in this kind of really basic introduction to Zotero. There's a lot of other functionality that we're actually going to cover in an advanced section. I believe at the end of October or like really, really early November is when we have it scheduled. But again, there's a lot of help that's available out there in the Zotero community because it is open source. So a lot of people have created like APIs and additional add-ons and all sorts of other stuff that they can do within the Zotero system. All right. So let me take a look here at any questions that came in, and if anybody has anything, please feel free to pop those in. I'm also going to bring up the fact that we do have a guide on the library website called Citation Tools that has information about different citation styles as well as information about Zotero itself. And again, my information is here if you want to make an appointment with me. Thank you for watching this recorded webinar. Find upcoming webinars to register for at libcal.umflint.edu.